This is RPGDad.
RPGNate.
And welcome to, well, it's not our weekend gaming wrap-up this week. We did A-kon 25 in Dallas.
Yep.
And we were doing the D&D Next tables. There are two of them. We had 4 tables there. Our table did... Dragonspear Castle. Ghost of Dragonspear Castle. The idea was we were going to carry characters. It started first level. Supposed to go from 1st to 10th level, go through this whole module. I think I started at the table, you ended up running the second and third day. Third day you didn't have anybody, I had people at mine. So you got a little farther than I did, and then we did Friday night, and then Saturday I had a table that ran for like 5 hours, and they got pretty far in. Yeah. And then we got about to probably where you were Sunday morning when I started.
Well, how far were you?
We got through all the crypt areas, and I had to stop.
Oh, we were into the crypt.
Okay. So...
people were jumping in.
What did our other DMs have? I mean, you sat at the other 2 tables.
I sat at the one table, Search for the Diamond Staff. And what he did, which I wanted to actually play the Layer Assaults in 5th edition because it looked interesting.
I don't remember the name of that very first Layer Assault, but the first Layer Assault that Wizard sent out, he converted that into a 5th edition module. That was a 4th edition Layer Assault, which they all were, all Layer Assaults were, and he changed it in the 5th. It looked interesting. I didn't get to play or look at it because I was busy all weekend.
And then there was also Attack of the Tyrant Claw, that Layer Assault.
Did you get to play that one?
It would have been too late to do it.
Okay.
Because by the time we got to the point where he wanted to do it, it was too far in.
Okay.
And then the table that was behind me when I was sitting there, they played H1. I forget what the name of that is, but it is Module H1.
Okay. And he converted that from 4th to 5th as well. With ours, we didn't have to do any conversion because Dragonspear was actually a module that came out for Gen Con. And when I saw that it was a 5th edition module already set with pre-gens, I was like, I'm all over that. I didn't have to prepare as much. It did have a rule set that's a little behind what we have, where they were using the lore instead of skills. But I didn't really think that mattered when it comes to gameplay, a con, where people are just sitting down. What we ended up having, the Pathfinder Society around here kind of screwed up, and they weren't there. So we had a ton of people coming around. Oh, where's Pathfinder? They're not here. We're playing D&D, so people would sit down and play.
A lot of people would stand there talking about Pathfinder, and
I don't even need to go in that. People know my opinion. I mean, you're now 2 editions behind. And 10 years behind in gameplay, it's time to move on. If I really wanted to be like them, I'd still be playing 1st edition AD&D, and I'd be 40 years behind, because that was my favorite rule set. That's what I cut my teeth on. But
our one DM was getting really annoyed because all day Friday, because he had maybe 1 table, people were walking over and talking to him about Pathfinder.
I don't even want to hear about Pathfinder. You know, it's old news. There's new stuff coming out. There are other game systems. I mean, I'd rather play Numenera, Fate, any of the new systems that are really wickedly cool compared to Pathfinder, and move on. I mean, there's so many new rule systems, but that's off the A-kon track. Now, I didn't get to take pictures. I took a camera with me. I took no pictures, but it's because we spent the entire weekend in the game room. Other than if we were sleeping or having to go outside because of a freaking fire alarm at 1:30 in the morning.
Somebody seriously needs to accidentally fall out of a window.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, some idiot. It used to be a regular occurrence. Last year it was relatively quiet, and then this year some moron decides to pull the alarm thing, and hopefully they fell down the freaking steps and died for doing that. Because I think somebody probably had a heart attack. They were taken away in an ambulance after coming down, and
a lot of shit.
And there were people hurt and injured on the steps because of it. So if you're watching this and you did that, you know, fuck you. You hurt people. I hope you. You know, I hope something bad happens to you. You know, whatever. You're just an asshole. Don't do that kind of stuff, people. It's just stupid.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of shit happened Saturday night.
Yeah, the stuff that we heard about, I mean, a guy got tased by the cops at the rave.
There was an overdose on meth at the rave.
Yeah, there was something like that. There was all kinds of crap. I mean, some of it's hearsay. There's nothing in the news, so there's not a lot of confirmation. I mean, some of the stuff I'm not going to talk about that I heard is hearsay of what happened because it's just freaking pathetic. But we do know about the cop thing because people saw it. So, you know, an idiot exposing himself and walking around naked to an underage kid, and the cops are like, put your pants on. He headbutts him, and so they tased his ass and dragged him out of there. Yeah, he's got time coming, so he'll get to have his pants off in front of guys all at once. He just won't like it.
Yeah.
Now, as far as gameplay, let's get back to that. I had a couple of really good tables. I mean, Friday I had a good table all Friday evening. I mean, we had a lot of fun. Saturday that was probably the most fun table I had. And they were all fun, but this table, they were just crazy. Now, I did have one problem player sit in. He was looking for Pathfinder. He sat down, and he's never played Next.
No.
And he wanted to rules lawyer me on a game he's never played.
What
So this is what he wanted to do. He wanted to, when he went from Crom's Hold, the keep where the dragon attacks, and then you're supposed to go, and you're told, go recon the dragon. Don't engage, don't talk to him, don't do anything, recon the dragon. Well, this guy, because they were dead soldiers, he's like, I want to take a shield. Well, he's a mage. I said, you can take one, but you won't be able to use it. And he's like, okay. And I said, and you won't be able to bump your AC by 2 for having a shield. And he goes, it doesn't say that in the rules. I said, if you notice when you look at fighters, it says proficiency with weapons, shields, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
With mage, it doesn't say that. He says, well, it's a disadvantage. I said, there is no disadvantage on your AC. You don't get to roll 2d20, and if it's a low number, say you have no AC. If that's the case, then I'll say, okay, you have no dex, so you have an 8 AC, and I'm going to kill you anyway. But the guy kept arguing, and the other people were like, just shut up.
Actually, if you have no dex, that'll be a -5, so you'd have 5 AC.
It would be awesome. But he's arguing a rule. I mean, we've been play testing since this thing came out, and through all the different rules, we know what's going on.
Actually, it was like a year after it came out.
No, we've been play testing it since they started coming out. Now we did before the 128 packet. I was just fighting it.
It was out a little bit before because there was like the closed.
It was out, but we were playing it. And I was fighting it and holding on to 4th edition because we had groups that wanted to play, but I would still go in and play it periodically with them. But the fact of the matter remains, you can't, if you're a mage and you don't have proficiency, a shield's not going to help bump.
No.
And I said, and you're not going to be able to hold it and have your AC because you got to do all this because you're a mage, and you don't have proficiency. You have to have proficiency. You have to have proficiency to wear armor. He kept arguing disadvantage. There's no disadvantage on armor. You don't roll a die to get your AC to come up. It's whether you have proficiency or not. And he's arguing the fact. Well, I mean, he was debating the whole time, and I admit, I got annoyed. And your first level monk, your first level mage, you had 7 hit points. He was at -7 when I got done with him. So his character was dead. But I did my best to spread the damage, but he would not stop, and I killed him. And he was making the table miserable. And I don't care if it's a con setting or what. If you're being a dick, I think it's the DM's obligation to eliminate that problem from the table.
Yes.
And he was creating a problem. And when he died and left, they were like, I thought he'd never leave. They were happy he left.
Yeah.
Because he was just being a douche. I mean, douchebaggery doesn't cut it. You should not rules lawyer, and especially at a con when people are just there to have fun.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're all laughing and having fun, and he's hemming and hawing over the rules. I'm like, you're not getting that shield no matter what you do.
My table, there's some things we weren't certain on, so to look in the rules, but there weren't any real arguments over it. We didn't have any. I think we did have 3.5 people, but
the only thing that I ever have to look up, what classes do I never play?
A lot of.
I never play spellcasters, ever. I mean, I'll play, and it's the closest to a spellcaster I'll play is a pally now. I'll play the pally, I'll play the rogue, I'll play fighters. I won't play spellcasters. So I have to look up spells from time to time because I'm not a spellcaster. And I've got no problem with looking it up. I've got the things to flip through. I've got 2 PCs sitting in front of me. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
And but I don't have to look up whether or not a mage can use a shield. Now, granted, if you're a mage and you take a thing of fighter, but you're going to have to drop that shield to be able to cast. It's going to be laying on the ground, and you can't keep picking up, putting it down, and casting. It's going to be on the ground while you're casting. Since it's a constant thing, it's like a minute of concentration. You've got all this stuff to do. It's all, too bad. You will never use a shield.
I think you might be able to use a shield if it's like a buckler or something, and it's not 2 movement impairing.
If you haven't worn a buckler, it is movement impairing. It's still heavy. It's still something heavy enough to take a blow.
Well, in 5th edition...
I mean, it's not balsa wood, which would be useless.
Remember, it is plate armor. You can use plate armor with wizards.
But plate armor's not that heavy. I mean, people have this massive misunderstanding of how heavy plate armor was. And you can really do a lot in plate armor. All right, I've worn plate. I've messed around in plate when I used to go to SCA events and stuff like that. Even chain, which is a hell of a lot heavier than plate.
Well, chain is.
No, but chain is a hell of a lot heavier and more encumbering because of the weight. You can do a hell of a lot in all those armors. Even plate, you've got plenty of room there.
Well, chain, while it might be heavy, you still have it where it's just linking.
But it's not
rings.
like your plate is bolted to this part. I mean, it's all strapped in and you can move. It's made to move. I mean, those guys could move. And like I said, go to an SCA event where people have real plate. They move really fucking fast. So you have full range of motion. People have a lot of misconception about that. So the way that we always looked at it was not that plate encumbered you. It was that plate messed with the energy or electricity or whatever you wanted to call it and didn't let that flow through the mage. And that's why you had to be a cloth wearer. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, a mage should be able to wear plate, but he may not be able to cast because, I mean, that's going to mess up all the energies that you're working with.
Yeah. But now that they've removed the entire mages can't wear plate and cast, it's nice.
It's nice, but then it makes for, I mean, look at what you, what was the character you generated? It was way too overpowered.
5 levels of mage, 1 level of fighter.
Yeah, and what were you doing when you were causing all that trouble?
Everybody within 10 feet of me rolled a disadvantage on me. I could make somebody within 50 feet of me not attack me if they attacked me and go attack somebody else, and I chose the bard every time.
Your bard because he was annoying you in your group?
Yeah, because he's a bard. It's just like,
well,
he was the only person there with the first time I used it, so it's just like, he's attacking me. No.
Well, when you actually were sitting at that table because you didn't have a group sitting to DM,
yeah.
What brought around the conflict? I mean, I know you were saying you were like killing people in your group because there was all this conflict going on.
Well, if you played Search for the Diamond Staff, when you get into that final room, and you actually did role play in there and didn't immediately attack, you can talk to the person. And I had made a deal with her because I figured my character, I did pick Chaotic Evil, but it was in his best interest to figure out what this place had because he is a wizard and this is magic-y. So he decided, or I decided that I wanted to help the person in turn for her giving me the knowledge of this place as well. And it worked.
Now, did anybody in your party agree to that?
Nobody talked, and it was a mutual agreement that we were going to follow this deal. And the paladin and the ranger followed it.
The pally was going... How can you...
The paladin was lawful good, and he did not know it was chaotic evil. So he...
Yeah, because they've taken away Detect Evil from pallies. That used to be like a staple with them, which I don't understand.
Yeah. I like that.
I know.
You need to be able to have like a jam Detect Evil on evil characters. But I go down and I just take a position to watch the door. And the bard's behind her because there are the ledges. He's behind her on one of those ledges. So the first thing the barbarian does is rages and throws a javelin at her. And the bard jumps down after I have Ray of Frost to the barbarian and starts attacking her. My primary target becomes the bard.
So they attacked the people that you made a deal with.
Yeah. The paladin and the ranger continued following the deal. Those two...
So you had a table split and fighting each other.
Yeah. So I killed the bard within the first round. And then the barbarian ran away and met the cultists, who, when they got in there, because they were bunched up, I fireballed. The ranger happened to get hit, but he did save, luckily. And I was fighting with that, but the barbarian also saved, so that's that.
Yeah, the Diamond Staff was a messed up thing where you could have stupid stuff like that happen.
Yeah. But I wiped out every single cultist that was there, except for the one that saved. And everybody that was on my side saved too as well.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. I didn't have sculpt spells.
So how did that conclude, or did you not get to finish?
You pulled me up before I could.
Well, we were leaving.
Yeah. But I think the party wiped.
Well, because you helped wipe it.
Yeah. I think if I was still there, I might have helped it not wipe. But, yeah.
That's bad. But, I mean, that's... You know, I kind of feel if you've got all these good characters, I know you like messing with playing an evil character, you've got to go with the group alignment. You can't do something that's going to end up screwing the party. I know it can be fun, but again, you've got to go to an encounter setting or a con setting. I don't like conflict at a table. I want the table to enjoy themselves and play together rather than against each other. So I wish you would have, or I wish you would, contemplate in the future not playing these evil characters and going with the alignment at the table, or at least being neutral so that you can sway towards the alignment at the table. I mean, that's a problem I always have when I've got somebody at the table. And when we sat down in this campaign we're doing now in Encounters, because you're going against these evil guys, there's no point in evil guys going in against them. They would probably be aligning with the Red Wizards. And I told everybody, you need to be neutral or good, or you have no point in being at the table.
I tried to get my party to align with the Red Wizards. I got close.
Well, you shouldn't encourage that.
Let them play what they're gonna do. The Ooze Master is the one that's going to try.
But A-kon was fun, except for, I mean, you're always going to have one problem player. If you're lucky, you don't, and if you're really lucky, you don't. If you're lucky, you only have one. I only had one all weekend, and I mean, right up until the point the only thing that got him off the table is the random encounters in the swamps. I rolled a really bad roll for the random encounters, and first level characters ran into 4 will-o-wisps.
And he's a mage, so he's useless against them.
4 will-o-wisps. And
will-o-wisps?
No, their magic missiles will work against them. It's the only thing that they're vulnerable to. And it was the only spell that he hadn't memorized. So it was awesome. I mean, it was a total screw-up. It's the one spell that all the mages should have memorized. And, no, I had one mage that did, and he didn't. And he's doing all this goofy stuff and arguing with me, too, on his spells. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't memorize the spells, but I still know the magic system. So that's not going to happen.
I play wizards a lot, so I do know the magic, so I was able to help the wizards that were at my table.
Yeah.
So,
but
I like multi-classing wizards though, so they're less useless.
But we did have a lot of fun. We did, everybody's laughing. I mean, we even had that last day. Somebody's like, you know what? If I come to the con next year, I'll be spending 75% of my time here. So, I've done my job when people are happy like that. But the rules lawyer, they'll never be happy. So I can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
They're only happy if they're making everybody miserable, and that's not what you want at a table.
I think we lost a lot of people on Sunday because of that fire alarm.
Yeah, I mean, it was so bad. People were saying it was like a 3 to 4 hour wait to get up the elevators.
People were probably still asleep by the time I finished.
We stood in line for the elevator for maybe 20 minutes, and I got pissed off, and we started looking for the steps.
Yeah.
And we were on the 17th floor. We had already walked down 17 floors. And once the steps, I mean, there was a little line there because they could only let so many through. But we got through that line in like 4 or 5 minutes because it's like, okay, let 5 or 8 people go. They wait 10 seconds, let 5 or 8 people go. It wasn't like you're waiting for an elevator. Yeah. So I bolted up those steps and went to bed. Yeah. And it was pretty bad since the 50-year-old kicked the ass of the 2 of the people in the room getting up the steps.
Well, they weren't the most fit people.
I know, but that was just wrong.
Yeah. I ended up staying back because
you were afraid one of them was going to die.
Yeah.
Me, I was tired. I wanted to get up to the room. But
I'm trained in calling 911, so it would work.
That was A-kon 25 for us. I always say I'm going to try and take some pictures or do something when I go there, but I mean, there were things that I saw there that can't be unseen, and I'm glad I didn't take pictures. That's a totally another thing. I'm not even.
I wanted to take a picture of those so that I could show it to people and
who didn't believe it.
Yeah. It's like, here you go.
Yeah, but then you're going to burn their eyes out, and they don't need to see that.
Yeah.
But A-kon was fun. I mean, like I said, we spent the whole weekend gaming, and that's always fun. The only bad thing is, A-kon, we tried to get there 10 in the morning so we could get set up, and it didn't get busy till like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Yeah. And Saturday it was even that way, where 4 o'clock or so is, we get there 10 o'clock, 4 o'clock or so, it starts getting busy. I mean, you might have one table where we end up, if somebody sits down, we have people waiting early for groups, and then finally we'd be able to put a table together with all the people coming, and then we had sign-up sheets for like 3 o'clock or whatever. I think my one group on Saturday started at 3.
Yeah.
and they went till 9. And they were, when they came, they were like, oh, we can only spend an hour. They were there till 9, so they had a great time. They finally they were like, I'm starting to feel a sugar, like my blood sugar's low and I'm gonna die. So they needed to eat.
Yeah.
But that's it for A-kon. You have anything else you want to talk about on it?
No,
Other than you screwing your table up?
I am not. I am screwing into the table, so I DM'd up.
All right. So that's it. We've got to play some catch up, and we're going to record all those today. So there will be no changes in what we're wearing. We're going to do number 2, 3, and 4 for our current encounter season, and then we'll be all caught up. And tomorrow we'll be on week 5.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching, and we will see you on our next video.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.